Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the finalists for the 2016 Australian of the Year. You may notice that Jack Charles, whom you saw in that package, is not present among our finalists tonight. He's performing in Canada. Prime Minister, for the final time tonight, would you please do the honours?
The 2016 Australian of the Year is David Morrison.
In June 2013, confronted with evidence of a small number of men in the Australian Army demeaning and denigrating women, General Morrison, as the Chief of Army, recorded a video in which he confronted every member of the Australian Army. And that internal video went viral. It went all over the world. And it did so for very good reason, because it's a story of leadership.
On all operations, female soldiers and officers have proven themselves worthy of the best traditions of the Australian Army. They are vital to us maintaining our capability now and into the future. If that does not suit you, then get out.
When I saw it, I think when everyone saw it, we all knew that it was a defining moment of leadership.
It was unprecedented and it was incredibly powerful, and the world took notice.
My first thought was that it was about time. Finally, we had someone who Australia looked up to and respected stand up for the morals and the values that we believe that we have as a nation.
It singled him out as a leader who was prepared to invite spectacular criticism, but also create spectacular change.
He might have been speaking to the men and women of the Australian Army, but he spoke to Australia. He spoke to us and what is good in universal human values, what is good in us as Australians, and in doing so, he made a difference.
He came from an industry that's not known for championing diversity, particularly gender diversity.
David Morrison will be a leader in the diversity agenda. He will raise questions, he will challenge people's perceptions, and that's a good thing.
I will be ruthless in ridding the army of people who cannot live up to its values, and I need every one of you to support me in achieving this. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. That goes for all of us, but especially those who by their rank have a leadership role.
Ultimately, when people like David Morrison stand up for equality and diversity, that is true allyship. That is using privilege and power to make real change.
Halfway through 2015, David Morrison, having given 40 years of his life of service to Australia and to the Australian Army, stepped down as the Chief of Army. All of us say something of ourselves, of our values and what is important to us, our communities and our nation in the choices that we make. David Morrison chose to chair and lead the Diversity Council, and in doing so, he sent a very strong message to all of us that he values every single human being.
If we are a great national institution, if we care about the legacy left to us by those who have served before us, if we care about the legacy we leave to those who, in turn, will protect and secure Australia, then it is up to us to make a difference. If you're not up to it, find something else to do with your life. There is no place for you amongst this band of brothers and sisters.
2016 is definitely the year for diversity in Australia, the year that David Morrison will demonstrate to people who haven't believed this issue touches on their lives that this is an important issue and it's critical for the well-being, happiness and prosperity of Australia.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 2016 Australian of the Year, David Morrison.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So seldom in my life have I been almost at a loss for words, but this is one of them. And by an extraordinary error of judgment, I chose to make my speaking notes tonight in ink. I'd like to start by acknowledging the first people of this great country. To pay my respects to their elders past and present, wherever we as Australians are all gathered. Tomorrow we will celebrate what it means to be Australian, but it will, for some of our Indigenous brothers and sisters, be a day of emotional conflict, and we can celebrate and commemorate but still respect those views. I do want to thank two families, my own, my wonderful sons Tim, Sam and Ben, my glorious wife Gail, who is the bedrock of my life and yet every day still describes the horizon that we travel to on every day. I also want to acknowledge the Army family. During my time as Chief, we formed a contract with the nation. I'm not going to recite it to you tonight, but it finished in one memorable line, and it speaks to me now, after 37 years of service. I am an Australian soldier, always. You are magnificent in your courage and what you give to this country. Now, I'd like to begin by agreeing with the Prime Minister, a wise step perhaps. It is an extraordinary time to be an Australian, but I need to give it qualified agreement. For reasons beyond education or professional qualifications or willingness to contribute or a desire to be a part of our society and our community, too many of our fellow Australians are denied the opportunity to reach their potential. It happens because of their gender, because of the God they believe in, because of their racial heritage, because they're not able-bodied, because of their sexual orientation. And we as a nation, looking forward to the future, realising the extraordinary contributions that we can all make, should be able to give them the chance to reach their potential, because when they do, we all benefit. And that's what true diversity is about, and why I am so passionate about it and so honoured to have been chosen as your Australian of the Year in 2016. And so I think it only fair to name the three areas that I would like to give my greatest support to. The first is to continue the work done by the most remarkable woman, Rosie Batty. She has set a benchmark for us all, and the scourge of domestic violence, which faces us as one of our great social issues, won't be solved in a year, maybe in 50 or 100 years, but it is up to us in our lifetimes to do something about it. And I look forward to contributing to her great work. The second area is diversity. And as the chair of the Diversity Council Australia, I know what we can do when we give everyone a fair go. But in a country that prides itself on its egalitarianism, I can't explain why there is a gender pay gap in this country between men and women across all professions of 17.8%, and worse in many of the professions that we are all proud to be part of. That needs to end. And finally, and with great respect to those who don't share my views, and recognising our proud history of European settlement in this country and beyond, over 200 years and more, I will lend my voice to the Republican movement in this country. It is time, I think, to at least revisit the question so that we can stand both free and fully independent amongst the community of nations. Thank you for placing so much trust in me. I look forward to being your Australian of the Year in 2016. God bless everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, our new Australian of the Year, David Morrison, and congratulations to all the finalists from every state and territory.